Hey everybody, welcome back to another deep dive. You ready to explore a place with some real history and a bit of mystery?
Sounds intriguing, yeah.
Well, today we're heading to the north shore of Lake Superior. It's a spot known for its rugged beauty and some pretty enigmatic stories. We'll be digging into some cool sources, like excerpts from Wikipedia about Judge C.R. Magny State Park, and an article from the Lake Superior Circle Tour blog. Both of them zero in on the infamous Devil's Kettle.
Oh, I've heard of that. The Devil's Kettle? What's the deal with that place?
Well, that's what we're going to find out. But before we jump into that specific spot, I think it's important to set the scene a bit. What strikes me about the North Shore is how the landscape itself almost creates these mysteries.
Right. Like it's just begging for stories.
Exactly. It's all ancient rock formations, dense forests that seem to hold secrets. And then there's Lake Superior itself. Vast, deep, and sometimes downright dangerous.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with Lake Superior.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
We're talking about rock formations that are almost 2 billion years old.
Whoa, 2 billion. That's hard to even imagine.
I know, right? It's like stepping back in time. This landscape has seen epochs unfold, witnessed things we can only imagine, and it's been attracting people for centuries.
Oh, yeah, for sure. From who?
Well, from the Ojibwe people who first called this area home to the French fur traders who ventured into its depths, and now to people like us drawn to its beauty and, yeah, the whispers of mystery.
It's like a magnet for the curious, right?
Totally. And at the heart of all this mystique is the Devil's Kettle. It's this phenomenon that's puzzled people for generations. So picture this. You're hiking through Judge C.R. Magny State Park, following the Brule River as it carves its way through this ancient landscape.
Okay, I'm with you. So far, so good.
Then you reach a point where the river splits in two at this rocky cliff. One waterfall flows normally downstream, but the other one, it plunges into a deep hole in the rock.
The Kettle.
Yep, the kettle. And it just vanishes. It's like a magic trick. The water just disappears.
Gone without a trace. So where does it go?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? For centuries, people have tried all sorts of things to track that water. They've thrown in ping-pong balls, dye, even GPS trackers.
No way.
Nothing.
Right.
It's as if the earth just swallows it whole. No trace, no explanation.
That's crazy. Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And the lack of a clear explanation for so long, well, it's fueled all sorts of theories.
Oh, I bet. Like what?
Underground rivers leading to who knows where, secret connections to the depths of Lake Superior. Some even say it's a portal to another dimension.
A portal? Wow, that's taking it up a notch.
Right, but it just shows how the human mind tries to make sense of the unknown, you know.
Yeah.
We love a good mystery. And standing there, watching that water disappear, it's easy to get caught up in those fantastical ideas.
I can only imagine. So has anyone ever actually figured it out?
Well, in 2017, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources decided to take a crack at it. They did a bunch of flow measurements above and below the kettle.
Smart. So they were basically checking to see if the same amount of water was coming out downstream as was going in, right?
Yeah, exactly. And their findings, while maybe not as exciting as a portal to another dimension, are still pretty interesting.
Do tell.
Well, it turns out the flow rates above and below the kettle were basically the same.
So it does rejoin the river somewhere.
That's what they concluded.
Yeah.
Most likely, the water is rejoining the Brule River underground.
Okay, but how? How does it vanish and then reappear without a trace?
Well, the researchers believe that the force of the water plunging into the kettle creates these incredibly strong currents and turbulence inside the rock formation.
Oh, I see. So like a giant whirlpool.
More like a superpowered blender.
Yeah.
And those currents are probably powerful enough to trap or even pulverize anything that gets thrown in there.
Makes sense. So no more ping pong balls then.
Probably not the best idea. But even with a scientific explanation, the Devil's Kettle still holds on to a bit of its mystique, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they haven't actually pinpointed the exact spot where the water rejoins the river, right?
Yeah. Nope. Still a mystery. So you can't help but feel a sense of awe standing there, watching that water disappear, knowing that nature still has some secrets.
Totally. It makes you wonder what other hidden wonders might be tucked away in the forests along the shores of this region.
Well, that's a great point because our sources mention another spot that seems to embody this sense of mystery. Split Rock Lighthouse? Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, yeah. Isn't it the one perched on the cliffs overlooking Lake Superior?
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of iconic, right? This beacon of hope standing guard against the sometimes unforgiving power of Lake Superior. It was built in 1910 after a series of terrible shipwrecks on the lake.
Oh, I can see why. It's a reminder of how dangerous that lake can be.
It really is. We're talking depths of over 1,300 feet.
Wow, that's deeper than I thought.
And water is freezing cold.
Yeah.
It's earned a reputation as a pretty treacherous force of nature.
It's like the lake itself adds to the North Shore's air of mystery, right?
Yeah.
It shapes not just the land, but the stories people tell about it.
And speaking of stories, have you heard about the ghost stories and strange occurrences that people report around the North Shore?
Oh, yeah, I've heard whispers. What kind of stories?
Well, everything from phantom ship horns echoing across the water to mysterious figures appearing in the fog.
Spooky. It's like the past is still present there, lingering in these ghostly encounters.
I know, right? And it's not just the ghosts. There are tales of strange creatures, unexplained lights, and all sorts of bizarre happenings.
It seems like the North Shore has it all. Natural wonders, captivating history, and a healthy dose of the paranormal.
Exactly. It's a place where reality and imagination seem to blur, where the past and present intertwine.
And where the landscape itself whispers tales of mystery and adventure.
Couldn't said it better myself. So what do you say? Ready to delve deeper into this captivating region?
Absolutely. Lead the way. Welcome back. You know, before we get too deep into the history of the North Shore, I think we need to talk more about Lake Superior itself.
Oh, for sure. It's not just a pretty backdrop. It's a major player in shaping the North Shore.
Right. I mean, think about it. It's the largest freshwater lake in the world by surface area. Holds like 1/10 of all the world's surface freshwater. And it gets deep, too.
It does. Over 1,300 feet in some spots. That's crazy deep.
Yeah, it's like a whole other world down there.
No wonder the Ojibwe people called it Kichigami, big water. They really understood its power, both good and bad.
And that duality is everywhere in the North Shore's history. Like all the shipwrecks, those stories are legendary.
They are. And they're more than just stories, right? They're reminders of how strong and unforgiving the lake can be.
Yeah, it's a force to be reckoned with. Makes you wonder what else is down there in those dark depths.
Right. What secrets the lake is holding on to.
Like, what if there are more devil's kettles down there? Just swallowing things up.
Ooh, that's a spooky thought. And it kind of ties back to the ghost stories we were talking about earlier, doesn't it? Like things disappearing, lost forever.
Totally. It's all connected. It's like the North Shore itself is a place where things vanish.
And where the boundaries between reality and myth get a little blurry.
Exactly. The landscape, the history, and those ghost stories, they all blend together to create this really unique atmosphere.
Yeah, it's like stepping into a different world. And that brings us to another fascinating aspect of the North Shore, all the ghost stories and strange occurrences.
Oh yeah, those are always fun. What are some of the ones you've heard?
Well, there are stories of phantom ship horns echoing across the water. Like the ghosts of those lost ships are still out there.
Creepy.
I know. And then there are tales of mysterious figures appearing in the fog, vanishing just as quickly as they appeared.
Ooh, I love those kind of stories.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's like they offer a glimpse into a different way of seeing the world, you know?
Right. Where the past and present are all mixed up.
Exactly. And in a place like the North Shore, where the landscape is so dramatic and imposing, it's no wonder these stories take root and flourish.
It's like the perfect setting for a spooky tale.
Totally. It makes you think about the layers of human experience that have been woven into this landscape.
And how those experiences continue to influence the stories we tell.
Yeah, like the Devil's Kettle and the ghost stories. They both speak to this idea of things disappearing, of mysteries that might never be fully solved.
It's almost like the North Shore itself is a mystery, just waiting to be explored.
Well said. Now, speaking of exploration, are you ready to dive into a place where history really comes alive? The Grand Portage National Monument.
Oh, absolutely. I've always wanted to learn more about that place.
It's amazing. You can literally walk in the footsteps of the voyagers and fur traders who helped shape the North Shore.
That's what I love about history, you know?
Yeah.
Making those connections to the past.
Me too. But before we go back in time, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about the Devil's Kettle. The scientific explanation that the water rejoins the Brule River downstream.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense, but they haven't actually seen it happen, have they?
Nope, not yet.
Yeah.
So there's still that element of mystery, that little bit of doubt.
Which makes it all the more intriguing, right?
Totally. It's like the Devil's Kettle is saying, hey, you think you figured me out? Not so fast.
I love that. It's a reminder that even in a world where we have so much information, there are still mysteries out there.
Exactly. And those mysteries keep us curious, they keep us exploring, they keep us wondering about the world around us.
And isn't that what makes life so interesting?
Couldn't agree more. All right. Are you ready to step back in time and explore the Grand Portage National Monument?
Lead the way.
All right, we're back. We've journeyed through mystery and intrigue, and now we're standing at the Grand Portage National Monument.
Yeah, a place that's more than just a monument. It's like a portal to another time.
Exactly. I mean, picture this, the Grand Portage itself, this 8.5-mile trail over some pretty rough terrain,
Yeah.
was like the highway of the fur trade.
Yeah, can you imagine? Hauling canoes full of furs for miles and miles?
No way. It must have been brutal, but also kind of incredible, right?
Absolutely. It's like stepping back into the past, to a time when the Ojibwe people, who'd lived here for centuries, encountered European fur traders.
And it was a turning point for the North Shore, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It wasn't always smooth sailing, though.
Right. There were definitely conflicts.
Yeah.
But there was also this incredible exchange of knowledge and skills and traditions.
Yeah, a real melting pot of cultures, and the Grand Portage National Monument does a great job of capturing that.
It does. You can almost see the voyagers paddling their canoes, hear the sounds of the trading coast, smell the campfires. It's like you're right there.
I love that. And it's a reminder that the North Shore's history isn't just about the landscape. It's about the people who lived and worked here, the people who shaped this place.
Speaking of shaping the North Shore, I think it's time we head to a place that really embodies the spirit of the region today. Grand Marais. Are you ready for a change of scenery?
Always. What's so special about Grand Marais?
Well, it's this charming town nestled right on the shore of Lake Superior. And it's a real hub for artists and outdoor enthusiasts.
It's like my kind of place.
Right. And the sources describe it as a place where the lake really influences the culture. There's this sense of adventure, a deep respect for nature.
I bet. Living by that big lake would definitely change your perspective.
Totally. It's like the people of Grand Marais have learned to live in harmony with the lake, to draw inspiration from its beauty and its power.
And I bet that translates into their art and music and everything they do.
Absolutely. There's a certain energy in Grand Marais, a vibrancy that comes from living on the edge of the wild.
I'm starting to see why you wanted to bring us here.
Well, I think exploring Grand Marais, after everything else we've learned about the North Shore, really highlights something important about this place.
Oh, what's that?
It's about the connection between everything. The land, the water, the history, the people, it's all intertwined.
I see what you mean, like the past shaping the present and nature influencing the stories we tell.
Exactly, and it makes you realize that we're all part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, we're connected to this web of relationships that stretches back through time and across the landscape.
And that's a pretty powerful thought, don't you think? It makes you appreciate the fragility of our place in the world, how important it is to respect nature and to honor the legacy of those who came before us.
Well said. It's like the North Shore is teaching us a lesson.
It is. It's teaching us to look deeper, to question what we think we know, to stay curious about the mysteries of life.
And that's a lesson we can all take with us, no matter where we go.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the North Shore, I hope you've discovered something new about this incredible region, and maybe even a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey.
It has. Remember to embrace the unknown, look for those hidden connections, and never lose your sense of wonder.
Great advice.
Thanks for joining us on this adventure. Until next time, keep exploring.